All right, so we are here to transform our health into wealth. If you were not aware, that's what we're here for. So how many people are interested in maximizing their physical health? Good, good. What about your mental health? Yes, equally important. And how about your spiritual health? All right. Well, I'm going to tell you how you can transform all of that good health into wealth. I'm going to reveal the 3 steps it takes to level up your health in each of these areas. And I have tons of content. I'm very passionate about this subject. I wrote a book about it, which I have for sale here, and I'll tell you a little bit about later. So, I could talk for days and weeks and years about the subject, but I'm going to try to get it all in 45 minutes. If you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me, and I'll have an opportunity for you to discuss with me personally, one-to-one, afterwards, if you would like. Sound fair? Good. Okay.
Ask a question by wealth, you mean money?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so can I tell you a quick story about myself? My name is Celina Pizarro. I am a certified holistic life coach, a certified mind-body fitness coach, and a fitness nutrition coach. And before all of that, I spent 15 years in behavioral health as an administrator, as a registered health information administrator, working primarily in South Florida. And I was working alongside of doctors and DOs, psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, nutritionists, all of these people that were treating people who were very sick. And what I realized is that all of those people were real sick too. Everybody was stressed out, unhappy, on medication, and I myself too was stressed out, unhappy, overweight, and on medication. It was 2012 when I hit rock bottom. My beautiful daughter and I were homeless. We were without a home. We were staying with friends and families and in long-term stay facilities and, eating infrequent meals, and my weight just, went up, and my self-esteem and my mental health hit rock bottom. But, of course, I worked with psychiatrists and doctors, so it was very easy to get medication, so I had all kinds of medications that I was on. But, I thought that something had to change. There was a better way. And it was during that time where we were, going through this transitional period that a friend of mine who I used to work with came back into my life, and like all good girlfriends do, she kicked me in the ass and said, "Celina, you got fat. What the heck have you been doing?" And I'm like, "Well, what have you been doing? You look great." And she went on to tell me how she was getting ready to compete in a bodybuilding competition. So I said, "Well, I want to do that too." So I decided to work with her and get fit, and I went on to compete as a national figure competitor on the national stage for 3 years, and won a bunch of trophies and all kinds of good stuff like that. But more on that later. So the question of what is health? What does health mean to you? I'm asking you, what does it mean to you? Yes? Yes?
Maintaining a healthy weight.
Mm-hmm. Feeling good, yes. Yes. So quite literally, health is a state of complete physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. It is the measure of each of these states that equals wealth. So the outcome of that measurement, the outcome of the measurement of your state of health equals wealth. Now, these 2 factors are exponentially related, meaning that the amount of wealth that you can have is solely limited by how healthy you are in each of these states. And it's a formula that I like to call the 80-20-100 formula. It's 80% of what you eat or consume, 20% of what you do with your physical body or exercise, and 100% of your mental well-being. So, did you know that we live in 3 environments? When I say environment, what do you think of? This physical environment that we all move around in. Yes. But we also have a physiological environment, which is basically the consumption of, since we were one embryo, body into what we are now, is the consumption of energy that we've accumulated through food from the earth, and our metaphysical environment, or our mental spiritual environment. Did you know our heart expands out, our energy field of our heart expands out by 6 feet? So our heart expands out 6 feet, the energy field, where our brain's energy field is pretty much encapsulated in our skull. So have you ever gotten close to someone that they've got in your personal space and you're kind of like, stay over there? That's that energy field. So your body, your energy field expanding out, you recognize when there's an energy field close to you that might not be on the same vibrational level that yours is in. I like to call it maybe dirty energy, So that's that energy field, that metaphysical environment. So the question is, how do we maximize our health in all of these states and environments? That's how we can maximize our wealth, as I just explained. So this is very easy to do, but it's really easy not to do, like most things that are good for you, right? Have you all heard the expression that cleanliness is next to godliness? Yes. And that your house is your temple. So the first step in my book is to detox and cleanse. So we're detoxing and cleansing our home, our body, and our metaphysical environments. So our environment, our physical environment, is just bombarded on a daily basis with toxins and chemicals. There's almost 100,000 different chemicals that are on the market today. And our homes and our environment is just cluttered and coming at us with these toxins all the time. So to clear the home of these toxins includes decluttering your house and removing things that are unusable, unwanted, or unneeded. And things hold energy, which is why this is important. So having a clear flow of energy is, in Feng Shui, is how they organize living spaces. So where here I'm facing the door and there's a clear path to the door. That's a good energy flow. So decluttering your house is the first step. Like maybe you've got like a pair of jeans from high school that you're like, one day I'm gonna get into those jeans again. So you hold on to them and you don't see them because they're in the bottom of your drawer in the back, but your subconscious knows they're there. And every time you go into that drawer to get out the pair of jeans that you are gonna wear, your subconscious is saying, you're fat, you're never gonna get into those jeans again. So that memory and that negative energy stays with that item. So I help my clients declutter their house and get rid of those things that hold that negative energy, even though you don't see it physically, that energy is there. Because let's be honest, even though that the 90s, when I was in high school, are back in style now, you're still not probably going to get into those jeans, and do you really want to? No. So we get rid of those types of things and clear the energy. Now, on a more practical sense of decluttering the home and getting rid of home toxins, we go through the house and look in each space and just eliminate things that we don't need that are creating a toxic environment, such as air fresheners, and if you've got like Wi-Fi routers that are in different parts in your home, extenders that you might not need, shutting them off, certainly removing from the bedroom. The EMFs, the electronic magnetic frequency, is constantly bombarding our bodies, and it's just not good. But the pesticides and carcinogens that are in the food that we eat and the products that we use, I identify what all of those products are. There's an actual guide in here, part of my 3-month program, but it's actually in the book where you can go through and say, get rid of this, replace it with this. A basic solution that you can use for cleaning products is simply water, distilled water, vinegar, lemon juice, and some thyme, fresh thyme. It makes it pink. It's pretty, but it's a natural detoxifier, antibacterial, antimicrobial. So it's just those types of things, kind of getting back to basics, if you will. And then obviously I put in here in my book, and part of the package that I'm going to talk to you about later is a body detox. So the first step in any good nutritional wellness plan when you're getting ready to transition to a new wellness plan is to do a body detox. It's very gentle, 4 days, mostly greens based. And what it does is kind of brings your metabolism back to ground level so that you can then, after, start reintroducing foods to determine what foods might be aggravating your system. Because a lot of times we have an inflammatory response to food that we're not aware of. So it's helping you get in tune with what your body needs. So you go through the detox and then you slowly introduce foods into your system, keep a food journal to identify those that might be inflammatory to you. So then you can decide to eliminate those. And speaking of inflammation, in 2016, 90% of the diseases that people died from was rooted in inflammation. So we can control this. I mean, it's basically environmental. And it really, it stems from having too many crappy carbs in our diet, processed foods, not enough good fats, not good sources of lean protein. But diseases like type 2 diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's, and neurodegenerative diseases are all inflammatory based. So eliminating those from your diet, you pretty much have lengthened your life and in turn lengthen your wealth, as one example. Okay. We are a nation that's overfed and undernourished. You know that the average American diet consumes 3,600 calories a day. And 90% of adults don't eat 2 vegetables in a day. And of those 2 vegetables, guess what one of them is? French fries. About a third of us have reported a deficiency in essential vitamins and minerals, which, having that type of diet, processed foods primarily, they are nutrient deficient in itself, which is why I say we are a nation that's overfed and undernourished. So the second step is to nurture and revitalize. So after detoxing and cleansing our environments, then we're going to fill it up with nurturing and revitalizing foods and elements into our home and into our body, or into our minds. So, when your mom told you that you are what you eat, you literally are what you eat, right? Having a whole foods diet that is, when you look at something that, if it happens to be packaged, things like dairy and things that you're not going to be making your own cheese necessarily, I get it, but things that have 5 or less ingredients, and ingredients that you can read and understand that are whole food ingredients like cream, sugar, salt, those types of things. If you're talking about butter or yogurt, then those are the types of foods that we're talking about. So how to create the perfect meal every time is another item in my book, and something that I'm going to offer you later. And it's really easy to do. I use the POM method. Now, when I was a bodybuilder, I had to measure all my food down to the gram and to the ounce. I'm not saying that you have to do that, but after you start measuring or eyeballing foods, after a while you're going to know how much of an item or food group that you should consume. But very simply, you can use your palm, and it's 1 palm for women, and it's relative to your size. So we all have different size hands, so that's how it works. You would take your palm here, and this is the amount of protein that you would want to eat. And a cupped hand would be the amount of vegetables, preferably raw, if not just blanched, and a fistful of complex carbs, potatoes or rice, any of the, quinoa, grains, any of those, and then good fats is your thumb. And you'd want to consume this with every meal. And I'm not a fan of snacking. I strongly believe that you should eat a meal, let your body absorb and process the food completely, and then eat again when you are, not when you start to get hungry, but when you actually are hungry. There's a hunger scale that I use from 1 to 10, and you kind of stick between that like 4 to 6 range. You know, eat when you're, you know, pretty hungry, and stop eating when you are satisfied, not Thanksgiving full, right? So how to create the perfect meal every time. Now, if you're very active, then you might need 4 meals a day. But if you're not so active, then you might be able to get away with 2 meals a day. It really depends on your level of activity and what your eating window is. I do intermittent fasting, so my eating window is less time. It's only 8 hours a day. I'm not saying that you should, you know, start intermittent fasting, but if you were interested in that, we could certainly talk about that later. So if I asked you to find an extra 15 minutes in your day, do you think you could do that? Wake up maybe 15 minutes early, or leave work 15 minutes early, or something like that? Well, 15 minutes of high intensity interval training a day is equivalent to 40 minutes on the treadmill. So if you think that, man, I really got to use that gym membership that I've been paying for, you know, it's just sitting there, but I don't have an extra hour to go hang out on the treadmill, you don't need to. 15 minutes of high intensity interval training is all you need. And with the proper sleep ritual and sleep patterns, which I also discussed, the importance of sleep is huge. You know, the average American adult doesn't get enough quality sleep. It has to do with all of the blue light, electronics, and everything that we use, like in our bedroom, right up until we sleep. So getting enough quality sleep, you actually have the ability to wake up earlier and feel refreshed. So if you could do that twice a day, 2 15-minute intervals, or 2 15-minute sessions of high-intensity interval training would be the equivalent of being in the gym or on a treadmill, some cardio equipment, for an hour and 15 minutes. What's that? So high-intensity interval training is any, you can use 30-second intervals, you could use a minute interval, but it's where you get your heart rate up to about 90% of maximum, you know, like 100% like you're going to be on the floor, you know, so like 90%, you are at 90%. And then for the other interval, you're down around, say, 30%, where you're moving, but it's like an active rest. You're just kind of jogging in place or walking in place, and then you go back up. So you could do that. Tabata style is like 40 seconds of high intensity, 20 seconds of low intensity. But there's many combinations, is my point, that you can do this. But as long as you're going max for one interval and the second interval, you're down low, and you do that over a span of 15 minutes, you've got it done. And you don't need to have any weights. I mean, I have some that I provide that have dumbbells or bands, but most of them is a body weight exercise. You could do in home, you could do in a space right here. You could do it. You could do it in your pajamas. You wake up doing your pajamas before you brush your teeth. You're good to go. So it's designed to get your heart pumping and your blood flowing, basically. And sleep, we talked a little bit about sleep, but sleep deprivation can cause a 5 to 20% change in your metabolism. And it's 200 to 500 calorie difference in your basal metabolic rate. So getting enough quality sleep, you're actually helping your exercise efforts. And speaking of metabolism, individual metabolism can easily fluctuate 100 calories and differ, between individuals, and differ 1,000 calories a day. And this is due to, especially for women, like that blood moon that we had, you're affected, your cycle is affected. And so can your metabolism be affected by that moon? So it's moon cycles, it's stress, has a huge impact on metabolism and your nutrient uptake. When you are stressed out, and most people are stressed out every second of every day, just due to the influx of information, negative information, watching the news, driving in traffic, people are stressed out constantly. So that stress, what it does is it shuts off all of the non-essential functions in your body. And nutrient absorption, digestion is one of them. So if you eat when you're stressed out, and if you're stressed out because you're on a diet and you're eating, you just pretty much negated your efforts of trying to, whatever your diet goals are for being on that diet, because you're not going to absorb the nutrients properly. So when you look at food and you see, a lot of people count calories still, which I told you my recipe for creating perfect meal didn't have anything to do with calories or macros or scales or nothing other than the food groups, is by using your hand. The calories that are on the little, FDA label can have an inaccuracy of 25%. And that has to do with how the food was, like when it was processed, when it was harvested, how you cook the food, and for the other reasons, you as an individual can change how that calorie is being used by your body. So it's really an inaccurate old way of looking at eating well and diets. In addition to the fact that 75% of the processed food on the market is genetically modified. And the new label for genetic modification is going to say bioengineered, just so you know, BE. And I'm not going to get into the whole debate on genetically modified foods right now, but just know that those include corn, canola oil, soy, potatoes, apples, some rice, squash, and tomatoes. And if you see, when you look at something on the label, if it's got corn, sugar beets is what it usually is, or soy in there, then it's probably genetically modified if it's not organic, just so you know. And when it comes to produce, the Environmental Working Group has a list called the Dirty Dozen, and those are the fruits and vegetables that they suggest you buy organic because they've been tested and they've been shown to have the highest levels of pesticide residue on them. And top of the list is strawberries. It's always tops on the list. It also has things like grapes, nectarines, cherries, peppers, tomatoes, and then they also have a clean 15. So if you're, on a budget, there are things that have like the thick skin on them that you could, not have to buy organic and be relatively okay. But when you are consuming food, know, like we talked about, you are what you eat. Food and its energy that you bring into your body is, relevant to the soil and how it's harvested and how it gets to you. So a lot of our produce comes from California, and it's harvested before it's ripe, before it's had a chance to get all of the nutrients from the soil. And it's probably from a monocultured crop, which means they grow the same thing over and over again in huge, large, spans of farmlands. So it doesn't have the chance to, the soil that is, to replenish itself. So even though, it's a strawberry or it's a carrot, it might be not as nutrient dense as something that you might either grow yourself or get locally, where it hasn't been on a truck for, weeks to get here, and then is sprayed with something to ripen once it does get here, so it's nice and ripe when you go into Publix to purchase it. But everything has an energetic vibration. We just talked about how we've got this like aura that goes out 6 feet from our heart, right? And that energetic vibration is what really is equated to our feelings and our emotions. And it comes from the law of thermodynamics, that energy is neither created nor destroyed, it's just transferred from one mass to another. So learning to align with your vibration to what your desired state is the third step in my book and my program. So alignment and center, and this is really where the magic happens. Now, a lot of people talk about the law of attraction. Have you heard of this? It's not a new phenomenon, but a lot of people are talking about it now, where you can, manifest to win the lotto in 5 minutes if you listen to this audio clip every night. No? You haven't listened to it yet? I guess not, because we're all here not, cashing in our lotto ticket. Well, it is true, like attracts like, That's why the old school 90s diet of low fat doesn't work, because you actually need to eat fat to for your body to use your fat. That's why you need to have good fat in every meal that you eat, because like attracts like. This does work, but if you are not healthy in all of these environments that we talked about, going through the steps that I talked about, you are not going to be at that energetic vibration to be a receiver, to receive all of the plentiful wealth and abundance that is coming to you. So bringing yourself to that state of health is how you transform it into wealth. And it's done and it's honed through alignment and centering. So we talked a little bit about beliefs. And, our beliefs are formed when we're, younger than my daughter. She's 12. It's more like when we're 7 or 8. So your beliefs about relationships and money and body image and all of these, core beliefs are formed during that time frame, and it's, environmental. Once you're born, you're constantly, getting, where's the babes? We could have used her as an example. My niece is 2. She's just, a sponge, just collecting information, and all of this information goes into our memory, like in a filing cabinet, and the meaning that we apply to all of those experiences creates our belief structure. And it's your beliefs that create your thoughts. And it's the thoughts that enhance your feelings, good or bad. And it's your feelings then that charge you to take action on something, which gives your results. So we are all here because of what we've been doing up until this point. We've all manifested where we are in this life right now. We do it every day, every second of the day. We're just not aware of it. But you are where you are now because of your belief structure. So by going in, and I kind of equate it to a garden. So when you're getting ready to, if you, like I recently have moved into a new house, there was, nobody had taken care of it, so it was like a mess. So what is the first thing you do? You go in and you pull everything out, you go through the soil and take out all of the debris and the rocks, and maybe you put in some nice, compost, nice organic compost, and get the soil nutrient rich. And then, and only after then, you can go in and start planting your nice seeds and watering them, taking care of them, nurturing them. And then they're going to grow, and you can harvest the fruits of your labor. But your thoughts are just like that. So, if you think of your mind as like a darkened room, and you take a flashlight into a darkened room, then you shine in the flashlight, you're only going to see what the flashlight is highlighting. And you might say, what's that in the corner over there? I see something. It's got a bunch of cobwebs on it. Nobody's looked at that in a while. Let me go in there and brush it off. That's kind of how our mind is with our thoughts. So you have collected all of this stuff, and you're not, your attention, or until your awareness comes to those things, you've forgotten about it for a while. So I can explain this to you a little bit easier if we do an exercise. So we're all sitting next to each other. So kind of face the person next to you and close your eyes. And I want you to think about, so take a breath. I'm going to give you an image. Think about when your first child was born, or maybe your engagement day, or the best vacation you've ever been on in your life. Think about that. Just kind of marinate in that image. Maybe it was on a beach or on a boat or sitting by a pool in a beautiful dress or a suit that you were in. And just marinate in that feeling. Does it bring a smile to your face? Now open your eyes and look at the person across from you smiling. Did you feel the energy, vibration elevate? Did you feel it from the other person? Your energy vibration elevated? No? All right, well, close your eyes again then. Stay where you are. Now, I want you to think back to maybe you lost your job, or somebody very close to you has passed away, and you're at their funeral speaking on their behalf. Or maybe your dog's died. Now I want you to look at the person across from you and see if you can feel their sadness or their pain. That is a feeling magnetized, increased seeing and feeling. That's energy momentum. Okay, close your eyes again. You can sit normally. I want to clear the energy. Take a deep, no, you don't have to. Take a deep breath in. Raise your hands to your heart. Exhale. Breathe out and raise your right hand up. Inhale and bring it back down. Exhale, bring the other one up. Inhale and bring it back down. And just go back and forth, kind of passing along, but not touching your hands, breathing in and out. Clearing the energy. Very good. Okay, both hands to heart. Take another breath. Exhale it out and let your hands come down. Okay, I didn't want to leave you in that negative energy. So remember I told you about my trophies and stuff that I had won in my bodybuilding years? So my first competition, I had done the meal prep. I had gone to the gym twice a day, 8 months of hard work. I mean, I put in the time. I was there. I was ready to go. My mom was there. My daughter was there. I don't think Lila was there. So I put in the time. I had on the suit. I had my tan going and everything because they spray tan you. It's this whole ordeal. So I was on a team. I was on a national IFBB team. And when I got there to the event, I was looking around and I was like, oh my God, what am I doing here? All of these women look amazing. Well, what am I thinking that I could do this? Like, who the heck am I? This is craziness. I shouldn't be here. I don't look like them. I don't fit into this. What am I doing? So I got on stage and, I did have some stage fright, which was one of the reasons why I decided to do that, to do the competition. But, that's what was going through my head the whole time. So I got on stage and I was like, okay, get done. And they, were calling out the names of the winners and the placements. And they didn't even mention my name because I got last place. Last place. And I was heartbroken because, I was a leader. I was the past president of my professional organization. I had been the director of departments of, hundreds of women, and it was mostly women, but, men and women. That's not who I was. I was, supposed to at least get a trophy, like a gold star or something. Nothing, got 0. Didn't even get my name called. So I decided, right then and there that I was going to change something, that this was BS and I was going to come back and win. So I went home. I decided that after talking to my coaches that I needed to change divisions, and it was a harder division, you had to have more muscle, but I put in the time, and in 8 weeks, I envisioned myself getting on that stage next time around and winning that trophy. And every time I went to the gym, I saw the oxygen in the blood going to my muscles to pack on the muscle mass that I needed to compete in that next division. And I saw it every night, over and over for 8 weeks. And I got back on that stage 8 weeks later, and I won first place. And it wasn't because I had any more or less effort than the other ladies. It was because I had the mindset to win. And this is what the third step in my book is all about. is getting mentally realized in what you want to manifest in this life. So creating a state of health that you can translate into first place winning wealth is what I focus on. And doing that energy work like we did is a big part of it. It's clearing the energy. So popcorn style, I was just wondering what the biggest takeaway, biggest win, or biggest aha moment that any of you have had in our discussion today, if you'd like to share.
I have a question.
Sure.
You're saying declutter and objects, you have to carry energy.
Mm-hmm.
What about, like, the opposite? Sentimentality, special, object in the room brings memories of love or something like that. So, I think that eliminating, I was thinking, does it work in the reverse?
It does, and in the nurturing and revitalizing part of it, I have a couple of different methods of creating centers of energy in different rooms, specific to manifesting abundance. So, there is like having a ship sailing, a little figure of a ship sailing at your front door facing inward to the house. That is like what I call bedazzled, like it's very beautiful and ornate and stuff like that. And creating, instead of a vision board, it's a belief board, and putting your beliefs on it. But certainly honoring and centering things like your wedding pictures and stuff like that, but that's the center of focus, that you don't have a bunch of other clutter around it, so that the energy around it is nice and pure, and it's at the center of the heart of your home. So if that's the dining room or, the living, whatever the center and the heart of your home is. So yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Something I am taking away is the extreme power that our minds have over everything else that happens or will happen.
Yep. So if you are, like I did in my competition, if you are, if your goal is to, lose weight, but you're thinking to yourself constantly that I'm never going to get into that dress that if it's because you want to get into that, I'm never going to get into that dress, or, I'm just always been that way because I've always been that way, then you will continue to always be that way. Yes, that's absolutely true. 100%. So what I have, I told you I had a little treat for you today, and what I have for you today, I have copies of my book, and just for today, I'm offering a package with it. It comes with a one-on-one coaching session with me, and usually what I do is it's a goal-setting session, but really it's geared towards whatever type of breakthrough that you want. But it's a conversation with me, and I just help you establish a clear path, whether it's to prosperity or to wellness or whatever your main goal is. So normally that's valued at $250, but today with the purchase of my book for $20, it's free, along with the perfect meal planner, the 4-day detox that I talked about, and a 10-day high-intensity interval training. So the total value is $800 of all of these items, and with the purchase of my book today, you can have it for $20. Thank you. Thank you so much.